did. I mean, the thing that while I was reading it that amazed me was that, and I hope you'll forgive my it's rather a blunt question, but as I said, like right at the top of the show, I mean, you work for the UK's largest commercial news publisher. I mean, it's got a value market cap of what, some 800 and something, 40 million or something. I
I
mean,
think
it's
it's more than
massive.
that at the
Is
moment.
it?
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
But I mean, it relies on ad revenue. So I mean, was it? How did the advertising world kind of react to this kind of research when it came out? I mean, because it's potentially quite disparaging, to the industry. I mean, did you get any kind of industry pushback? I mean, did it upset anyone?
Um, on the whole, not really. I think what's very clear is that, as we say in Gut Instinct, that we over-index on narcissistic traits, and I think ultimately, uh, people like reading about themselves, and much of this, you know, even on the kind of trade websites on campaign when we published the research, and you know, the engagement it got
Yeah.
on, probably the only time I've seen probably more engagement is when they did that Nigel Farage campaign edition, but we'll
Cover. Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about that in a minute. But you would tend to get very, very good big. I think the thing is that all our argument is that, we're here to make you, to help you understand people, because we understand people, and we
Right.
understand it, and we do it in a way that's completely unique to any of our competitors. um, you know we've led the charge on taking kind of, you know trying to understand underlying human behaviors, what's driving behaviors, but also going against some of those. The industry is kind of like a bit of a bullshit cycle, right? It's kind of, you have to maintain the orthodoxy, and some competitors, it's in their interest to maintain the orthodoxy. So for me, it was all about, I guess, like the way I saw what we did is, I almost want to be like the Sex Pistols of the media research world, just not afraid to offend, be provocative, but do it
Right.
in an interesting and engaging way. And I think on the whole, people were very responsive to it, because I think particularly planners and strategists, they they like to think themselves, they are academically minded. They like to get to the bottom of things. They're great people to speak to. One of the things I've loved most from publishing this type of research is being able to meet with some of the brightest, strategic minds in advertising and marketing, and just, getting to know them, and chatting through.
Right.
Um, and I think on the whole, the challenge is that people go, yeah, you know what, I can see this, you're right, we are out of touch, and this does impact. But the problem is then, what do you do about it? And often people see it and they say, yes, you're absolutely right. Oh yeah, we're out of touch, this is so important. But then you go back to your day job, and the kind of the day-to-day takes over. You don't have time to slow down, you don't have time to question things.
Right.
And it's because I think this is one of the things, like, I've done this. So we talk about biases. I've lived and breathed this research, so I'm very conscious of my own biases, or try to be. I'm not always,
Right.
we're all guilty of our own biases. But I think when you live and breathe every day, because people always ask me when I present to them and do talks and stuff, is, how can I do this practically on a day to day? And my view is that you almost have to live and breathe it in a way. So there are many things to that on a day-to-day level that people can do to stop falling into kind of pretty obvious traps. um, but I think overall, there are some people that challenge it. Well, interestingly enough, one of the biggest challenges I often get is, oh, 200 marketeers is not very much. And as a sample, for instance. And obviously then I have to kind of get into, you know sample sizes and robustness and confidence intervals and all of those things. Obviously 200 is a perfectly robust sample size given the universe of the marketing population. I
Right.
don't want to go into details, but it's very hard for people to challenge the research, because, like I say, we just take frameworks from the world of academia and apply them. So, for instance, in the empathy delusion, all we did, we took Jonathan Haidt's moral foundations framework and we tested it, and the differences are there for all to see. What people can question is the interpretation, which obviously, you know, it is an interpretation, but on the whole, I think there's nothing wrong with, you know, with being a bit provocative. And I think people like that. Like, they constantly say, you know, everyone in the industry, you know, all they go on about is, oh, you got to be different, you got to be provocative, and things like that.
And look at you.
Yeah, and so on the whole, I think, you know, you get, you know, there are certain questions you get asked, like challenging questions, but
Right.
never had an impact on. If anything, it's been massive, because it's given us a platform in, you know, the not only the advertising world, but in the marketing world. We've been very fortunate that our studies have gone global, and you know,
and they're
people from
being
all over the
discussed.
world are in touch. Yeah, they're still being discussed now. It's incredible.